Aloha. What's up, Penn Nation? You're now tuned into yet another edition of BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. As always, I'm your host, Jay Kinch, and we are back yet again with another solid episode. This is episode 77. We're closing in on 100, folks. But again, tonight, we have three awesome guests, not as stacked as last week's show, but nonetheless, three awesome conversations that I know you will all enjoy. But before we talk about tonight's lineup, you guys already know what's up. I tell you every week, your home for MMA news is BJPenn.com. BJPenn.com is your premier source for all things mixed martial arts. Our team is always working hard to bring you guys the most reliable information, all the breaking news, all the exclusive content you could ever want, and a whole lot more. On top of all the breaking news and exclusive content, we've got BJJ with BJ, the man himself bringing techniques and instruction to you guys, Penn Nation. Use the hashtag BJJ with BJ to ask a question and get a breakdown on a technique from the prodigy himself. We've also got killer tutorials coming out from Evolve MMA with some of the best in the business. Really cool stuff there. All that and so much more. Everything you crave from the sport you love. BJPenn.com, the fighter's voice. We have got you covered. We kick things off tonight with the number 3 ranked welterweight in the UFC, the supervillain himself, Colby Covington. Colby returns to the show to discuss this upcoming bout with Rafael dos Anjos at UFC 224 in Brazil on May 12th. We'll be discussing the matchup. We'll talk about all of the negotiations that had to fall into place for this fight to be finalized. We'll talk about what he has planned after winning UFC gold. And quite frankly, the testicular fortitude required for Colby to venture back into Brazil to take on a Brazilian after all the stuff he said about the country and its fighters. We'll also discuss the lengths that the UFC is going to ensure his safety and security during this trip back to Brazil. And you'll also hear Colby detail some very ambitious goals he has moving forward to take not only the 185-pound championship, but also the lightweight championship as well. As always, Colby brings the fire. Nobody's safe. Another great conversation with Chaos himself. Our second guest of the evening, good friend of the show, longtime UFC veteran, an all-around badass guy, Matt the Immortal Brown. Matt returns to the show to give us the inside scoop and an update on the ACL injury that forced him out of the fight with Carlos Condit for UFC Glendale next week. We'll get a timetable for his return, the severity of the injury, whether it requires surgery, what he has planned for that, some cool projects he has in the works for this downtime, how all of this affects his career moving forward, and of course, I had to ask him about Snoop Dogg. So another great conversation with Matt Brown. I know you guys will enjoy that one as well. And finally, closing out tonight's show, tough alumni, UFC strawweight, set to face Mackenzie Dern, also at UFC 224 in Rio de Janeiro on May 12th. ABC herself, Amanda Bobby Cooper. We'll preview this fight against Mackenzie with Amanda. We'll talk about the stylistic matchup, what holes she sees in Mackenzie's game, the back and forth that they've had, not only on social media, but also in interviews. The importance of this opportunity for Amanda to herself break into superstardom. What she thinks of the landscape of the division. And a whole lot more. So there you have it, Penn Nation. Another solid show. 3 great guests. 3 awesome conversations. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. This is BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. I'm your host, Jay Kinch. Coming up first, kicking things off, the supervillain himself, Colby Chaos Covington. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome back to the show one of our favorite guests, the man who is officially set for a shot at welterweight gold, Colby Chaos Covington. What's up, Colby? It's been a while, brother. Very excited to have you back on the show today.
Yo, what's up, guys? Thanks for having the Brazilian King back on the show and the UFC's biggest draw.
All right, so listen, let's waste no time, man. It was initially reported by BJPenn.com that you'd be fighting Dos Anjos for the welterweight title on May 12th in Rio de Janeiro. The news dropped yesterday that the fight is officially on. First off, how long has this thing been in the works?
This thing's been in the works for a couple weeks. You know, they had to beg RDA and sweeten the pot for him just to finally sign the contract. But you know, as soon as they offered me the fight, I accepted the first day. But you know, that once they sweetened the pot for RDA, finally he came to terms and realized that I could end his career for the money he's going to make.
Well, listen, you mentioned a couple things there that I want to get to in a moment. With sweetening the deal and the contract signing. But I know you couldn't talk about it over the past couple weeks, and rightfully so. Talk to us about how this fight got put together. You've said many times on this show that you wanted RDA, Wonder Boy, or Woodley. Had the UFC offered you any other matchups before this one came up?
Yeah, I was supposed to fight Woodley for the undisputed UFC welterweight title back on December 30th. As soon as my name came across Tyron Woodley's desk, I'm injured. I'm going to go back to Hollywood and gossip like a little bitch and talk about the Kardashians. But he was fine to fight Nate Diaz. He was fine to fight GSP at 85. But as soon as they talked about fighting me, the real king of the UFC welterweight division, he got scared and went hiding in Hollywood.
Now, obviously, RDA had been on the hit list for months now. We'll talk about Woodley here in a moment, but you've had plenty to say about the guy in our previous conversations, being Rafael dos Anjos. Now that the fight is booked, man, give us your thoughts on how you guys match up stylistically.
Stylistically, it's an easy matchup for me. I'm better than him everywhere. He's going to find out the hard way on May 12th that, you just don't mess with Colby Covington. I
know you've had, obviously you have some of the best wrestling in the UFC, and you're always sharpening those other skills as well. But something that Gamebred had mentioned to me last week is that he feels that you have some of the best cardio in the game, hands down. People say that RDA has great cardio as well. What kind of a pace are you expecting for this fight?
I'm expecting the highest pace you've ever seen. I'm going to drown him. He's going to be put in 10 feet of water. And we all know he's a little midget as it is. He can barely see over 5 feet of water. So, I'm going to put him in the deep end of the big boy pool, and he's going to drown.
Now, Dos Anjos had been pretty adamant about wanting to wait for Woodley to be ready. What made him take this fight, in your opinion? You talked about sweetening the pot. Was the interim title to sweeten the deal in order to get him to sign?
Yeah, that's why they had to sweeten the pot, is put the interim. Because originally when they first offered it to me, they were just talking about just doing, a #1 contender fight, a big fight, do it in Brazil. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I'll fight him for free. I didn't care about the money. I'm not here to fight for money. I'm here to fight for legendary status. And this fight, people 100 years from now are going to know that I went south of that dump of the border and easily defeated most of their elite warriors. Brazilians will name their firstborn my name after I brutalized RDA and romanticized their women.
Now, just to stay on the contract here for a moment, Dos Anjos had said earlier in the week that he signed the contract and that he was waiting on you. Based on what you're saying, though, there's no truth to that statement.
That's what we call fake news.
Okay, so you were ready to go, but like you said, they had to offer him the interim title to get him to sign this contract.
Yeah, I accepted the fight, 2-3 weeks ago. I told Dan Lambert, my manager, boom, sign it right away. I don't care about the money. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this to embarrass these top guys up top, these fakers, and that's what they are. RDA is a fake, saying that I didn't want to sign the contract. No, that's not the truth. They had to offer the interim title for him to sign the contract, and I guarantee they offered him some pay-per-view money to come out of his little hiding hole.
Now, speaking of the interim belt, ever since this fight was announced, the MMA community started complaining about the UFC creating another interim belt. Many point out the fact that Woodley's supposed to be ready for July. However, I know that you've been on a mission to be a champ one day. So what's your response to the hate on the interim title?
These are the same virgins that are cheating on their wives, cheating on their taxes, and just fake people overall. They're mad that I'm getting my shine and I'm getting a chance at a big money fight and a title fight. Let's look at the numbers. Woodley's fought 4 times, last year. That's his only 4 fights in the last 3 years. Do the history. Look up the math. Numbers don't lie. And Woodley didn't want to come back in July. That's just what he was saying because he doesn't want me to get paid. He doesn't want me to fight for a title. So you know, I've heard reports that Woodley's not coming back till December. So, you know, you guys should find out, you know, that everybody's finding out that what I say is truthful, and things that RDA and Woodley say, they're just fake. You know, they just make shit up for the media.
Now, the only thing that I thought could hold up this fight being finalized was the security concerns, you know, given that you're returning to Brazil here. I know you've said that the UFC is guaranteeing your security, but was there any hesitation from you guys or your team to take this fight in Rio with all that considered?
No, there was no hesitation. You know, that was the first thing we talked about before we even talked about the deal and the terms and the money. You know, we talked about private security, secret service level security, being at a private hotel, being away from the fighters, you know, not doing open workouts, not doing anything where it's going to put me in danger in an open area where some Brazilians could come attack me. So, you know, I've had a lot of messages, you know, from some favela leader, Marcio, that has a bounty on my head and said that he's going to murder me before I make it to the octagon. So, you know, I had to make that aware to the UFC and make sure they get the right security and take the right precautions for my safety.
So it sounds like you're mentioning a guy from a favela that threatened you openly. I mean, has there been any legal action taken there in regards to maybe the Brazilian police looking into that?
Nah, the Brazilian police are just as corrupt, you know. Just like I said, that place is a dump. All those filthy animals, you know. The Brazilian police, they're just looking for, you know, they're looking to sweeten their pockets, you know. So if someone's going to give them a little extra money, you know, they're going to be quiet about it.
Now, in regards to the details, I don't want you to go into too much, but what are the lengths that the UFC plans to go here? You know, you said Secret Service. Is there going to be a Chaos Secret Service or something like that?
There will be a Chaos Secret Service. I got my security team on deck, and they're going to follow me everywhere I go, you know. So, you know, I'm not going to be visible to any eyes. You know, I'm going to be, you know, private with everything I do. And the only time you're going to see me now is in that octagon. You're not going to see me at these UFC events. I'm not coming there to talk or be friendly with anybody. You know, I'm the supervillain of the UFC now, and they just got the biggest supervillain that all you nerds read about in comic books.
You told Brett Okamoto that the UFC had to buy 2 plane tickets, one for you and one for your big nuts. Do you think anybody else in your position would have the balls to take this fight in Brazil?
No chance. 0%, -0%. You know, no one's got the big set of balls that I got. You know, like I said, they had to get 2 plane tickets. I feel sorry for the UFC, all the money they're going to be spending on security and for my extra flight for my big set of balls. But, you know, there's no doubt about it. I'm going to uncharted territories, and no one would do what I'm doing going back to Brazil when I've gotten as many death threats as I've gotten.
Yeah, man, I got to say, it's crazy to hear that some favela king has threatened you openly like that. That's some crazy shit, brother.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Feels like a dream, man. It doesn't even feel real sometimes.
I believe it. Now, I'm sure with the opportunity for RDA to fight you in Brazil, he's going to have a lot of added motivation for avenging the Brazilian people and you know, going along with all of that. What would you say to those fans in Brazil that are going to be screaming "You're going to die" on fight night?
I could say that they could also expect to have the tissues ready. You know, I got a good thing. You know, you guys should all go invest your stocks and money into Kleenex, because on May 12th there's going to be a lot of tears around the world, and there's going to be a lot of tissues handed out.
Now, when I asked Masvidal about you fighting in Brazil again, he said that he loves it and it shows how much of a competitor you are. He also said that you thrive in these hostile environments, and he'll be betting on you, of course. Would you agree that you compete best under this kind of pressure?
You know, I compete best under any pressure. There isn't a certain type of pressure that I compete better in, but, you know, I love the hate. You know, I've always loved the hate, and more than the support. You know, I like people telling me I'm going to die, chanting all these negative things at me, saying I can't do this, you know. You're definitely going to see the best Colby Chaos version you've seen ever in the UFC. You know, I'm a completely different fighter than when I fought Damian Maia back in October, so you can definitely expect me to see me thrive under that pressure in Rio on May 12th.
Now, aside from you capturing the title and setting up this fight with Woodley, I'm very much looking forward to the promotion of this fight. It all starts on Friday with the press conference in Brooklyn. I'm sure you'll have plenty of ammunition ready for promoting this fight, and I know you enjoy being this heel supervillain, as you said. But all that considered, how excited are you to start promoting this fight, arguably the biggest fight of your career?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's just another fight. It is what it is. I've been here doing what I've been doing the whole time. I'm the draw now. I'm the biggest, I'm the marquee that everybody wants to see. Whether they want to see me lose or win, they all tuning in. They're all emotionally invested in me. So, I look forward to the opportunity. The UFC is going to see that I am the next superstar. I'm taking over the whole UFC after this fight. You're going to find out that Conor McGregor is going to get washed away real quick, and the only talk is going to be about Colby Chaos Covington.
Now, speaking of that, man, you and I have talked in length about this heel roll and what you're doing and how people just aren't getting it. But now that it's all said and done, you're finally fighting for a title. You beat RDA. It sets up the fight with Woodley, and the sky is the limit, man. What would you say to all these people that have been doubting you along the way, being a supervillain?
Yeah, I mean, look at where they're at and look at where I'm at. I'm fighting for a world title for a lot more money than they're going to make in the next 10 years of their life. So, they could say whatever they want, but look at the position I'm in and look at the position they're at. And everything I've said has been truthful. We had these interviews back in October after my fight, in January, February. I called my shots. I said everything that was going to happen. I said I was fighting for a belt my next fight. That was the only fight I was going to fight. And look where I'm at. I'm fighting for an interim belt with a chance to take over the whole UFC.
You're absolutely correct, man. You've called it along the way. So maybe instead of Mystic Mac, we got Mystic Chaos now. So I would agree with you there, man. But looking ahead, not past RDA, what's next for you after you win the strap in Brazil? Do you expect Woodley to be ready for July, or is it going to be December? And assuming you come out of the fight uninjured, how early is too early for you to compete again?
Oh man, I'll be ready to compete the next weekend, man. RDA, that's easy money, man. He's a little Franken nerd. I'm a dump his head and give him a swirly in Rio de Janeiro on May 12th and on pay-per-view. So you don't want to miss that. I'll be ready to fight the next weekend. But the thing with Woodley, he's not going to be ready for July, man. He's just faking. He just wanted to say that to the UFC so they wouldn't make an interim title. But that's why RDA took this fight. He knew that Woodley wasn't coming back anytime soon. I heard reports that he's not coming back till December. December 4th is when he's targeting. So, this is all just fake news and fake media with what Woodley's saying. That he's a piece of shit, man. He never keeps it real. And that's why, you're seeing a lot more people drawn to my side and believing in me and knowing that I am the GOAT. Because, I keep it real and I say the truth.
Now, when we last spoke, you had also mentioned wanting to fight for titles above and below welterweight. Is that still on the agenda? And if so, how soon could we see you make those moves?
Yeah, that's definitely still on the agenda. I don't think Whitaker is that good, man. He got knocked out by Stephen Thompson, and Stephen Thompson couldn't hold my jock straps. So, I might be looking to go up. I always wanted to get the belt the harder weight class first. So, I'd rather go 170, get my belt, go to 185, smack Whitaker around, and then go to 155. We'll look for Khabib. He thinks he's got good wrestling and pressure and pace. He's never felt a pace in wrestling like me. So, I'd love to go smack him around in Russia.
Wow, that would be one hell of a fight, man. Just as a grappling fan alone, it sounds to me though you don't think that he's on your level of grappling, or do you at least appreciate what he's been able to do in there?
Yeah, I appreciate what he's doing for the little man's weight class, but you're talking to a king, man. You're talking to a guy at a real man's weight class. I'm at 170. This is a real man's. He's in a little kid's weight class. I'm in a real man's weight class. So, little Killer Beeb or whatever his name is, he's done good for the little boys, but he comes up with the big boys, and it's gonna be a whole different ballgame.
Listen, man, you've been more than generous with your time. Greatly appreciate it. Let's wrap this up. In conclusion, give us a prediction for the fight. What can all the fans expect on May 12th in Rio? And tell all the haters out there why Nerd Bash 2018 is just getting started.
First round KO, only on pay-per-view, May 12th. You don't want to see this. I'm ending RDA's career in his home city of Rio. How great that they can put him to rest and he doesn't have to go too far. And to all my haters, enjoy the ride, man. I'm just getting started. I'm 30 years young. The best is yet to come for me. This is Nerd Bash 2018. Swirlies, wedgies, all you dudes are getting your lunch money taken. When you fight me, you only get half your paycheck. So gear up, man. Nerd Bash 2018.
All right, I love it. Colby, a pleasure to speak with you as always, man. It's incredible to see you rise to the top, and now that we're on the cusp of you becoming a champ finally, I got to say it's been awesome to be along for the ride. Hopefully we can catch up when the fight gets closer. All the love and support from us, and thanks again for your time today. Any shout-outs you'd like to get in before we let you go?
Yeah, big shout out to my team, American Top Team, my boy Mike, Dan Lambert, and thanks to BJ Penn Nation for always having me on. Thanks to my team, Jorge Masvidal, he's going to be in my corner. Much love to my brother. That's my biggest supporter who's helped me since day one. So, and my family and everybody, enjoy the ride, man. We're just getting started.
All right, brother. Again, greatly appreciate it. Looking forward to the fight. Awesome announcement. We're all super pumped for you, man. We'll chat again soon. I hope you have a great day down there in Florida.
All right, man. Take care, guys.
You too, buddy. Later. Sweet. Everybody duck. Nobody is safe. Again, Colby brings the heat to the show. Always a pleasure to speak with him. You guys have heard me talk about it many, many times. If you don't understand what he's trying to accomplish with this supervillain heel role, then you, quite frankly, do not understand promotion. Very excited for him. This is a sick matchup. Crazy that it's going to happen in Brazil. Wish him all the best of luck. And, of course, we'll be catching up with him when the fight draws near. Very, very interesting stuff that he said about wanting to move up in weight to fight Bobby Knuckles and to move down in weight to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. Both very intriguing matchups, but of course he has his hands full now with Rafael dos Anjos on May 12th at UFC 224. Let's keep it moving. Coming up next, good friend of the show, like I said in the beginning, an all-around badass dude, one of my favorite guys to speak with, the Immortal himself, Matt Brown. This is BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. I'm your host, Jay Kinch. Coming up next, Matt Brown. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome back to the show another one of our favorite guests, the UFC welterweight warrior and veteran of the UFC, an all-around badass guy, Matt the Immortal Brown. Thanks for joining us today, Matt. There's obviously plenty to cover, but first off, how are you feeling today, man?
I feel good, man. I actually don't feel bad at all. Just left the doctor's office a little bit ago. I'm headed to the sauna right now, getting some work, and yeah, man, living, just getting it done still. Keeping
right.
on it.
Right. Well, let's waste no time. We'll get right into it. The announcement came a couple days ago that you've been forced out of this highly anticipated fight with Carlos Condit in Glendale, Arizona next week. I know you've released a statement online, but tell us how this ACL tear happened.
Man, I was actually just warming up. I was defending a single leg. Dude had my leg up in the air, and I just planted on my plant leg, and I don't know. Maybe I was fatigued. Maybe maybe got caught on the mat the wrong way. It's really hard to say. It happened so fast, and I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't pushing it hard or anything. So just one of those things, man. And all I can do is come back stronger at this point. So I'm just looking forward to coming back and pushing it hard as I can to, pushing my rehab hard as I can so that I can get back as quickly as possible.
So it was obviously just one of these freak incidents that, just kind of happens during training?
Yeah, 100%. There wasn't, it wasn't a wild scramble or anything out of the norm. I mean, it's something, that I do all the time. It's regular, part of regular training, and
right.
Just landed the wrong way, wrong time, wrong place, wrong day.
Right. Now, you just mentioned... Go ahead.
Good. No, you good.
I was going to say, you mentioned you just left the doctors. Have you seen a specialist yet? How severe is the tear? Do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just left the orthopedic surgeon. Went over the MRI with me and everything. And I'm fortunate that it's only my ACL. There's nothing else that is torn, nothing else even damaged. And he said my knee actually looks really healthy. But unfortunately, the ACL, is a pretty major problem, and I'll be going to surgery next Tuesday.
Wow. So was it a partial tear, full tear?
No, full 100% tear.
Wow, man. Well, ACL tears are always tough for athletes to recover from, and, we've seen guys like Dominic Cruz struggle with the cadaver ligament procedure. It sounds like you've already scheduled the surgery. What kind of surgery do you plan on having? Are you going to do the cadaver replacement, or the one that everybody else seems to be opting for with what is it, synthetic, I believe?
I don't know. I guess my options are the hamstring graft, patellar graft, which is probably the last option, or the cadaver. Those are the only three that I was mentioned. And, I'm leaning towards a cadaver, but the doctor actually recommended hamstring. So, I'm talking to some people that have been through it. I was just talking to Joe Lazan this morning. Talking to a few different people and getting their opinions and doing all my research, do my due diligence, and we'll make a decision by time, before Tuesday, I guess.
Right. I mean, I just know that it's, you hear so many bad things about the cadaver situation, and then other people do have success with it. Have you talked to any UFC doctors? Is this your own orthopedic surgeon, or?
Yeah, I've only spoken to my own surgeon. Like I said, I just left a little bit ago, so
right.
I'll certainly talk to the UFC doctors, and I'm talking to as many people as I can and get it. I put an Instagram post this morning and asked my followers, what their opinions were, and I've heard all different angles and good and bad stories from both. So it doesn't sound like there's going to be a clear-cut way, and at this point, it sounds like a crapshoot, really. Like, just, just throw darts and pick one, and hopefully it works out for the best. But like I said, I'll do my due diligence and come to my own conclusion, and I have a little bit of time to do it, so no rush.
Right, absolutely. Now, again, I know this all just happened, but did the doctor give you any idea on how long you'll be out?
He said probably 6 months to return to any sort of training, which is, from what I understand, is pretty standard.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, again, some guys have battled with this a lot longer, but I think 6 months, that's not too bad, especially if you, like you said, you really push that rehab and try to do it right. I think you'll be back in no time. But, in your Twitter statement yesterday, you had talked about how these kinds of things, these kinds of setbacks are just part of the game, and that there's no need for people to send their sympathy. It's pretty clear that being in this game so long, you've got an accurate perspective on these kinds of injury issues, but I'm sure you still appreciate all that outpouring from the fans of support.
Yeah, I kind of wrote that, I guess, a little bit spontaneously, because I was just getting so many I'm sorry messages, and I was like,
right.
I'm like, man, there's nothing to be sorry about, man. This is, like I said, it's part of the game, and there's so many people to feel sorry for that are in worse positions in the world than me. I mean, I could have been born in North Korea or something. Like there's very, very, very sad things going on in the world. I'm still blessed. I'm still trying my best, gracious for all the great things that happen in my life every day. This, you're not going to be in this. I've been in the UFC for 10 years now. You're just not going to. It's just a matter of time. You don't do this for too long without something like this eventually creeping up and catching up with you. I've been fortunate. I've only had to pull out of 2 fights previous to this due to this is only my 3rd surgery of my life. And I've been doing this stuff a long time, and I haven't necessarily been doing it intelligently a long time. I've probably only been doing it, training intelligently for the past few years. So, for me, in my opinion, I feel very gracious even through the injury. I hope nobody took offense to that, because I know a lot of people, they just don't know what else to say. So they just say, hey, I'm sorry. They don't mean it, in the way that I maybe kind of retaliated. But I just want to, hopefully I didn't really offend anybody with that, but, I just wanted to try to, maybe try to inspire some other people, like, reiterate that, we need to be gracious even in the worst times in our life. So hopefully that maybe it touched some people. That's, there's not a whole lot I can do with my, I feel like the situation I'm in, I have a platform to be able to help and inspire others, and, so I want to use that in a positive manner like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree with you 100%. And like you're talking about, not only, do a lot of fighters have to go through much worse than this, but at the end of the day, we should all be grateful during even setbacks like this that, like you said, we don't live in North Korea or something for that matter. So it's just a, very good perspective as always from a veteran like yourself. But like I said earlier, man, this fight with Carlos was one that we were all looking forward to. As a matter of fact, when one of the guys from our team was putting together an article for the best fights in April, he asked all of us for some input, and a lot of us agreed that this was the fight we were most pumped up for. How bummed are you about having to postpone this fight with Condit a second time?
Man, that certainly hurts a little bit because, like you said, it's the second time, and both times it was my fault, or at least my side. Both times it was 2 weeks out. It's literally like almost exactly the same amount of time as it was the first time. So, I feel bad for Carlos. I mean, he's preparing for me for a long time, and I think obviously I feel bad for the fans. Like me and Carlos are going to put on a war for everyone. I was feeling probably as good as I felt in years, man. I think I had a great camp and really getting things together, and like I said, training more intelligently than I have. I think things have just really been coming together in terms of the holistic approach of fighting, in terms of mentally and physically and emotionally and preparation wise, and even injuries have just been minimalized, and my training has been very intelligent, and I got the right people around me, and just everything seemed to be coming together. And then something like this happens, it puts certainly not a small setback, so it puts a damper on things for the short term, but I think in the long term I'll find a way to benefit from this one way or another.
Right. Well, you actually touched on a couple things there that I wanted to get to. First, leading up to the injury, you say you were feeling great. This was a great camp. Was it a camp similar to like when you were getting ready for Diego?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, that's very similar. I mean, we're just putting everything together the right way, and surrounded with the right people, and life is good, weight's good, and happy, and just ready to go out there and perform, man. So
right. Well, I know that the last time we spoke was right before the Diego fight, if I wasn't mistaken, and at that point you were unsure how much longer you wanted to compete, but you said that based on how you felt in training camp, you wanted to keep going, and that the outcome of the fight would play a big factor. After the incredible KO, obviously, you said that Condit is a guy that would keep you from retiring. All of that considered with the injury, man, I mean, based on what you're telling me here, you've had an incredible camp, and this is no time to even consider retirement. Did that even come up after you got injured?
No, I haven't really thought about it yet. Again, it's I kind of look at this as just like I think I said during this camp, I guess we haven't done interviews, but one of the things I mentioned was, look, April 14th is all that I'm looking forward to.
Right.
And during the camp, so look, April 15th and after, I'll figure out about what I want to do after. I felt the same way before the Diego fight, really. Once I got into camp, right, and kind of cleared my head a little bit. This injury, I kind of look exactly the same. Right now, that's my focus. Let's get over this injury. Let's work on the rehab. I got a few things I'm going to be doing in my downtime. For one, like I plan on writing a book during this downtime. I want to maybe open a gym during this downtime. So I have other things that'll be on my mind. But the number one focus would be get through the injury, and then we can make a decision from there.
Right. Well,
so really, I guess what I'm getting at is my mindset right now is all short term. Obviously, building towards the long term things, but I'm keeping very much focused on the short term goals.
Right, right. Well, I mean, just based on how you were telling me you were feeling and the performance you had, and now saying that this camp was incredible and everything was coming together, I find it hard to believe that a competitor of your caliber would be even considering retirement with all of these things going so well. But the injury setback, it sounds to me like your heart is still in this. It just sucks that you had to pull out of this fight.
Certainly, 100%. The retirement isn't the thought of retirement isn't necessarily about my competitiveness, and I mean, I want to fight for a damn long time. There's no question about that. So if I were to say I was just decided to retire tomorrow, it wouldn't be because of my lack of desire to fight or anything like that. It would just be it'd be a lot more based on other things. A lot of it's like to spend more time with family, my children, and build a longer term stable income, be more settled down, have a better schedule. Things like this that the life of a professional fighter aren't really conducive to. And I miss a lot of things with my kids and my family simply because of training obligations and trying to and my life revolves around me so much. It's in training camp is such a self-centered thing. I think that's probably the most stressful part, because I want to give to, so I'm constantly torn between like giving to my kids and hanging with them and my family and everything, and then dealing with myself and
right.
So that's really those sort of things have a much larger part than my actual will to fight. Like I mean I'd go in and fight with this ACL if it was
right
if it made sense.
Yeah. Well, I
almost did. I tried Monday to test it out, and before I found out that it was torn, and I tested it out, and I kind of realized it wasn't going to work, but it was I couldn't stand on it, so
right.
It's like, but like I said, I mean, if it was under the right circumstances, I mean, I would just go fight with it the way it is. I mean, I have the will to fight.
Wow. So if you were able to train and stand on that leg, you would have tried to get past the UFC physicals and go out there and compete.
Well, I mean, I was trying to do that already. Like I said, on Monday, I mean, I went in and tried to hit pads, and because it happened on Friday, was the actual injury, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna rehab this knee over the weekend, and then Monday I'll come back, because I couldn't get an MRI till Monday anyway, after about 5 minutes of hitting pads, I was like, I don't think this is gonna work too well. My knee was buckling under me, and I couldn't stay. Yeah, so it didn't take long to realize it wasn't going to make sense, but
right.
Then the MRI confirmed what we knew.
Well, I'll tell you what, we covered a bunch of stuff there. First off, I know you've always had a ton of family support, and I know that in our last conversation, that was the big factor for you, was wanting to spend time with your wife and kids. But I'm wondering, what was their reaction to this injury?
Yeah, I mean, my kids, I mean, they're like, what, you're not going to fight because your knee's hurt? Like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, they're young, so, it was kind of funny, but they wanted to jump on my knee and everything else, like they haven't jumped on it in, months, and then as soon as I heard it, they want to come over and kick it and see what's wrong. But, no, but my wife is kind of like me. She's just like, this is what it is. It's an obstacle, and we're going to get over the obstacle. That's what it is, man. That's how we roll. Yeah, for sure. And another thing you touched on there, writing a book. That sounds pretty cool to me, man. Well, do you have a topic? Is it going to be like a memoir of your life, or tell us a little bit about that project? Well, I've started about 4 or 5 books already, and then I'm thinking maybe during this little downtime I'm gonna just pick one of those and really commit to it. Probably I'm leaning towards like a mindset book, like a sort of a sports psychology book, but more based on my own experience rather than like all these sports psychology books are written by, people that they go to college for that, right? They go to school, they get a PhD in psychology or major in sports psychology, whatever. So they're just regurgitating this knowledge that they pulled out of textbooks, and so what I want to bring is some real high level experience into that and combine the two together. And I have probably a book worth of information already and notes and everything. It's just a matter of putting on paper. And I've never written a book, so I don't know how that's going to go. I'm sure there's more to it than I'm giving it credit for. So, but it's just a matter of aggregating the information and putting it into a readable context, I guess. So. Yeah,
structuring and all that stuff. But you make a great point there that a lot of people, I mean, and we see this in academia everywhere. You go to school, you like you said, you pull information from a textbook. It's all regurgitated information, and then when you go to try and apply that to real life, sometimes it doesn't work out. So for a guy in your instance, a guy that's been there, done that, actually walked the walk, I think that'd be a very valuable experience to share with the world, about sports psychology, coming from a guy who's actually had to apply it in high-level situations.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think the real differentiator, so like you see a lot of athletes write books like technique books or memoir books, which maybe I'll do sometime. But I feel like I'd have to have a ghostwriter. I couldn't write my own book about myself. That would just be weird. Yeah. But you see them do like technique books, but I've never, at least not that I know of, I've never heard of an athlete writing a mental book, specifically about their mindset and the issues they've had to deal with and the ups and downs. And I feel, personally, I feel like, I'm a very open, very honest person, and I think that could resonate with a lot of people, and I think I've experienced a lot of things that even not only high-level athletes can relate, but also the average everyday person that just, like I've been through a lot of stuff that average everyday people deal with. I wasn't like a lot of high-level athletes were kind of pampered throughout their life, and their situation doesn't really relate to, what an average person would go through. Where I think I would be a little different. So
I would agree with you.
So we'll put it on paper, and we'll see if all that comes to fruition. But I'm certainly going to devote a large amount of time to it, and we'll see if I get it done in time. It'll be the hard part, right? Right.
Well, no, that's very cool stuff, man. I would definitely buy that book. It sounds, not only is it interesting that you're taking that kind of sports psychology angle from someone who actually has applied it, but you're absolutely right, man. I think a lot of common fans and common folk, the working man, can relate to you in a lot of ways. So I would agree with you, man, and I hope that project does get put together. But listen, I know we're kind of taking a lot of time here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You want to? How are you? You got like 10 more minutes?
I got all the time you need. I got like 6 to 9 months.
Right. Okay, so getting back to Condit, man. You've stated that you truly believe this fight is meant to happen down the line, and it's definitely a fight that every real MMA fan wants to see. That being said, though, will you be pursuing this matchup against Carlos upon your return? Is that going to be the fight you're going to be focused on still?
Well, again, a lot can happen in 6 months. Who knows who he'll fight? Who knows if he'll get injured? So right now, again, man, I'm, about the present moment. Like, I want to get this injury healed up as quickly as I can. Right now, I'm headed to the gym to, like I said, I'm gonna hit the sauna because I have a surgery now. I'll have a surgery upcoming in 1 week. So, I want to get as strong as I can going into the surgery, so it's stronger coming out.
Right.
Make the surgery as smooth as possible. So again, I'm focusing on one thing at a time, and not trying to spread my eggs out into too many baskets. And let's keep keep the tunnel vision on one thing at a time. Whatever when I come back. whatever fight makes sense. But I do think that, yeah, man, I think everybody wants to see me and Condit fight. So let's assume that he stays healthy and has a good fight or two in the meantime. I'd totally go for that fight, man. I mean, I think me and Condit, we are a great matchup, and I want to see one of us. I want to fuck him up, And,
Right.
And I'm sure he wants to fuck me up too. So.
Well, I'll tell you, man. Again, from a fan and analyst perspective, it was one that could have happened many years ago, should have happened many years ago, and it is just exciting now. So I hope that one eventually comes to fruition down the line. But like you said, I believe that you had said something not too long ago about you want the UFC to keep offering you fights. When the right name comes up, you'll take it in a heartbeat. Obviously, Carlos being one of those names, but are there any other matchups that you'd be really, really excited for at this point in your career?
Yeah, well, I guess I got about, 6 to 9 months to think about that. Again, so much can happen in this game. It happens so quick. So, 6, 9 months down the road, we'll revisit this conversation, and we'll just see what happens between now and then.
Okay, fair enough. So right now, obviously, like you said, the main focus is healing up, rehabbing the injury as quickly as possible. But in financial terms, is being forced out of this fight a big deal for you there?
Absolutely. That's certainly a problematic thing that I got to figure out. But again, it's an obstacle that I'm not afraid of obstacles, man. I'm not afraid of bumps in the road. So I'll attack that shit hard as I can, and we'll get that figured out too.
I have no doubt, man. And speaking of financials, I know I always ask you about this, and it's pretty off topic here, but is there any news you can give us on Immortal combat equipment?
Oh, it's going good. I mean, it's not, again, it's not, enough to sustain me and my family. It's not enough to provide for everything we need yet, but it is growing. Every year we've turned a higher profit than the previous year, so I have a few more pieces that I'll probably put again, this downtime, I want to take advantage of it, and that'll be one of the things I'll be pursuing. I have a few prototypes that they will move over into production finally, and maybe we'll be able to streamline the business a little better and get a better website, better marketing, better this, better that, and now that I can put a little bit of time and energy into it.
For sure. And I know ever since you mentioned that to me years ago, I've always been interested in it because, you're one of very few guys that has gone into equipment and apparel for fighters, and that was always very interesting to me. Obviously, Trevor Whitman's doing really well with his stuff too, so very cool to see. But one more off-topic question here for you. The stuff you said on Rogan's podcast about Snoop Dogg, I think you put into words what a lot of people actually feel that are real fans of the sport. Have you had any interaction with that guy since you made that statement?
No, I never had any interaction with him before either. But I'm not interested in having any interaction with him.
Okay, so I feel like with him being involved with the Contender Series and being featured on Knockout Mode and the new UFC game, it's just a barometer for the era of the sport, that we're in right now. However, even if he is popular and brings new fans to the sport, it's a bad look for the company to have a guy like that involved. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Absolutely, man. It's disgusting. And I just cannot wrap my head around this concept of using someone that's denigrating the sport to grow the sport. You want to talk about bringing new fans to... who gives a shit? I mean, the fans are going to find out about it. This sport it's far beyond the tipping point. It's not an underground niche thing anymore. These people find out about it one way or another. And it can be grown organically. I believe all this. I mean, I don't know if obviously the marketing people at WME or whatever might disagree, but I feel strongly that it could be grown organically and with some dignity. And we don't need people like that bringing it down. And like I said, I mean, I see him. If he was walked up to my car right now, I would get out and punch him in his face.
I have no doubt, and I agree with you. You know, when you're talking about the marketing aspect of everything, regardless, like you said, it's an organic sport. The sport has grown to what it is by people following it religiously, going to forums back in the day, and then getting really involved in the awesome characters that the sport has. And you do not need to be shoving it down people's throats just because you have some kind of pop culture icon involved in some capacity. And if he's just going to degrade the sport, then to most of us that actually care, it only loses value. So, man, I
get the. I have to wonder if it may even alienate some people, some of the longer term fans.
Absolutely.
The hardcore, you know. I mean, you know, people like us that are deeply involved in it, it's not going to alienate us because, you know, this is our life and this is what we're going to do. Like, I'm going to be a fan no matter what. But
right.
But you know, I have to wonder about the guy that, you know, works at his office all day and then, you know, he gets, you know, but maybe goes on, you know, the forums every night, and then he starts seeing that stuff, and now he's like, you know, I'm done with this crap, you know, like I don't want to be involved with, I don't want to be associated with people like that, and that's how I feel like I would be if I were just an average everyday Joe working at, you know, 24-hour fitness or something.
Yeah, man, I talk about this all the time on the show that, you know, because of McGregor and the era of trash talk that we're in, this kind of marketing, this kind of promotion, I feel like a lot of the longtime hardcore fans that helped bring the sport to where it is, I feel like we're losing a lot of them just because of the way things are. And I really do wish that the UFC, WME, I wish that they would realize that and maybe try to gear things back to the way they were that brought us to this point. So
yeah, because it's almost like to me, it seems like the sport is good enough. You don't need to add that in. Like, the sport is good enough. Even like Conor, he did all that stuff organically, right? Like, he didn't. I don't think anybody went and coached him and said, like, dude, you need to be a great shit talker. Like, yeah. He was organic, you know. So they didn't have to push that, right? So I don't know. I don't get why we want to try to be something that we're not. You know, like, let's, you know, we could keep the dignity and we could keep the organicness, number one, and allow it to be what it is. I mean, like you said, there's great characters, there's great personalities in the sport, and I mean, it's just and obviously the sport itself, the reason we're obsessed with it is because it's such an amazing sport.
Right.
Like, let's let it be that, and it will grow. You know, I take major issue with them promoting it this way, and you know, it's sad to see, really. I think the sport's better than that, and it's being brought down.
It is, and you know, being in this era of money fights, it's like, are we just doing these matches to maximize profits, or do we care about the integrity of the sport anymore? You know, like, what's the point of the ranking system? And I think there's a lot of stuff that could be changed for the better, but it's interesting to see it all play out. That's for damn sure.
That's for sure. Yeah, it's interesting to play out. And I guess the big, you would think that the big fear would be that, you know, someone else is going to do it. I guess maybe that's why WME or UFC or whatever jumps on it first, because they're like, their thought process is probably along the lines of, okay, if Bellator starts doing this stuff and we don't, you know, maybe say they put a bunch of money in and grab Snoop Dogg or get a great shit talker or something. And I mean, I'm not the type of person that would. I think, you know, if I'm running a business, I just say this is what we do and we do it better than anybody else. But
right,
I have to guess that that's the fear.
Yeah. Hard to say, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I think there's enough room for everybody to eat. There's enough room for there to be these promotions all across the world. Like, you see one doing very well, and you know, Bellator is doing what it's doing. But I think that's better for all fighters to have more options. And at the end of the day, there's enough pie to share for everybody. But listen, man, you've been more than generous with your time. Let's wrap this thing up. Just a couple more questions here. What would you say to all the fans that have supported you throughout all of this, and all the fans that were looking forward to this fight that don't get to see it now?
Oh, gosh. Well, if anybody should be sorry, it's me. You So if I'm talking any fans that are disappointed about the fight, I mean, I apologize. Maybe I don't know if I didn't, train right, or was too fatigued or overtrained. I don't know. I don't feel like I did any of those things, but if I did, then I certainly apologize for that. And for all those that support me, obviously I got to thank them, man. I mean, they make it all worth it when, I don't get to reply to all my messages, but man, I get a lot of very inspirational messages, and there's nothing more inspirational than knowing that I helped someone through a hard time, or that I raised someone else's level of life. And that is truly an inspiration to me. It makes me a much happier person.
Right. Inspiration goes both ways, man. You're out there inspiring people, and in return, they're telling you stories of encouragement and something that you help them get through. So it's a two-way street for sure, man.
100%.
But in conclusion, let everybody know why you're going to be back stronger than ever after this injury and ready to kick some ass once you're finally healed up.
Well, I mean, I try to look at everything as a blessing, regardless of whether it's what someone from the outside would consider to be positive or a negative experience. I'm going to turn it into a positive experience one way or another. And I'm going to take the time to get stronger mentally and spiritually and emotionally, and that's all going to eventually feed into my physical, and that's going to be stronger. So I've already, like I said, I'm already putting all these thoughts into action, and it's only been a couple of days. So, I'm not taking any time, and I'm not even looking at it as time off. I'm just looking at it as time spent differently. So there's no possible way I'm not going to come back stronger.
All right. I have no doubt, man. Again, thank you as always for the time today, Matt. Always a pleasure to speak with you. We all hope that you get back to 100% as soon as possible without any other complications. I hope we can catch up again in a few months, get an update on that. Very much looking forward to the potential of this book coming out as well. But any shout-outs you'd like to get in before we let you go? Maybe plug Immortal Combat Equipment.
Well, I guess you just did. So there we go. ImmortalCombatEquipment.com. Check it out. Also on sale at westsidebarbell.com or elitefts.com. And also I have my shirt stores. If you want to, rather than having a GoFundMe, I have a shirt store. So if you want to help me financially, buy a damn shirt at theimmortalstore.com or .net. I think it's .com.
All right, awesome. Again, greatly appreciated, man. I hope everybody goes out there and buys a shirt for you. We'll catch up again soon. Hope you heal up well, and have a great day, man.
All right, thanks, sir.
Later, buddy.
Later.
I got to tell you, Penn Nation, if I was Snoop Dogg, I would steer clear of Matt Brown. Another great conversation with the guy. Can't thank him enough for coming on the show just days removed from the announcement that he'd have to pull out of this fight. A fight that we all wanted to see. I'm sure you guys agree with that. Definitely a bummer, but as you can hear, he has plans to make the most of it. And I'd be very interested to see what kind of a book he would come up with during this downtime. Also, if you want to go out and support Matt Brown, make sure you guys hit up the Immortal store, buy a t-shirt, help the guy out. Much love to Matt Brown. But let's keep it moving. Coming up next, Amanda Cooper. She's set to face Mackenzie Dern at UFC 224, May 12th, as we talked about earlier. Same card as Colby Covington. We're going to preview the matchup, discuss it in detail. First time having her on the show, by the way. It was a great conversation, and big thanks to her for the time today. This is BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. I'm your host, Jay Kinch. Coming up next, ABC herself, Amanda Bobby Cooper. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome to the show, UFC strawweight and the badass they call ABC, Amanda Bobby Cooper. What's up, Amanda? How's your day going?
My day's been great. Just finished a training session. I got another one in about an hour, so just typical day.
Right. Another day in the life of a fighter. So it was announced a few weeks ago that you'd be fighting Mackenzie Dern at UFC 224. in Rio on May 12th. How excited are you for this matchup, and how has preparation been going so far?
I'm really excited. Obviously, being on the UFC roster, I'm always watching girls fight and trying to pick which fight is the best matchup for me, and what fight would help me bring me to the top. And I've been watching Mackenzie Dern even before she got signed to the UFC, and I've been wanting to fight her. So when she got signed to the UFC, I was excited, and I wanted the fight, I wanted the matchup, and then when I got the call for it, it just got me really excited. I never even told them I wanted it. I just been wanting it in my head. So when I got that, I just felt like it was fate hitting me, because I'd been already, really wanting that fight.
Interesting. Now, that's something I wanted to get to here in a moment, but there's been no love lost between you guys right from the start, at least when the fight was announced. But before we get into some of the shots back and forth, how do you think you both match up stylistically? And is this a classic striker versus grappler matchup in your opinion?
Stylistically, it's obviously the same as every, a lot of fights is striker versus grappler. But Mackenzie's not, I don't believe, with all her fights that she's had, she obviously wins with submission, but a lot of decisions. She's not much of a grappler. Like, she likes to stand up in a fight. She's on the ground, she's like point fighting, She's not a crazy good martial artist. She's very good at jiu-jitsu, like incredibly good at jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to take that away from her, but her mixed martial arts is what's lacking. I don't see a lot of good takedowns ever. I don't see good wrestling. I don't see good stand-up. She's very predictable, throws the exact same combination over and over again. It blows my mind that she's made it as far as she has with the lack of being able, like wrestling, being able to take people down. So it's a perfect fight for fans. They love striker versus grappler situations, but the wrestling, the judo, that's like the takedowns is what's going to determine the fight. And if she can't get me to the ground, it's going to be a bad night for her.
Right, and you make a great point there that in regards to all the decisions, she doesn't have a high finishing rate considering her background as a BJJ expert. But did you watch her fight against Ashley Yoder last month? And if so, were you impressed with anything at all? And I'm sure you saw a lot of stuff that you could capitalize on.
I did watch it. I wasn't impressed. Like I said, the same predictable strikes she throws. Her wrestling isn't explosive. She's not an athletic girl. She's very good at jiu-jitsu, but everything else is just, there's so many holes that she has in her game, and she's fighting every 2 months. There's no way to fill in those gaps. There's no way to fill in those holes in that short of time. So it's great for me because all I do every day is grapple now, and obviously I believe that's what she does, but she's not doing any other things to fill in a gap. She does the same. And what I've heard from people she's trained with, what I've heard from old, people that she's, been close to, is she's not training where she needs to train, and I can see it in her fights. So I'm in it to be the best MMA fighter in the world. I'm in it to be the UFC champion, and I'm not sure if that's what she wants. Maybe she wants to be the best jiu-jitsu girl in the world forever. And my drive and my passion for this sport is gonna be the biggest factor for me to win this fight.
So it sounds to me like you firmly believe that she's relying too heavily on her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, and in turn not evolving her entire game.
Right, and I'm gonna give her some credit. She throws hard. She comes after you. She's very aggressive. She's not gonna stop. She's not gonna, she's gonna get hit and keep coming. I'm not discrediting the way she, what's gonna happen. I just know that it's gonna be very discourageable for her to keep trying to take me down and me keep hitting her. I'm very good. I'm a lot better than I used to be, and I can't wait. Like, it's a perfect fight for me. She's 6-0. This isn't a fight where it's win-win. I'm only gonna win. Like, it's not, well, if I lose, she's good, so what does it matter? I don't have that in my head at all. I'm gonna win this fight, and it's the perfect fight for me to win.
Well, what you said right there is, interestingly enough, kind of something I wanted to bring up next. I was going to say that I was surprised that she pushed forward standing and kind of challenged herself a bit. However, it seems to me that if she can't get that takedown against high-level strikers, she's going to be in for a long night.
Exactly what I think. Exactly what my coaches have been watching. That's all we're doing. We're preparing for the best wrestler. I have the best wrestlers I'm training with that are ranked top 4 in the country that I wrestle with on a day-to-day, multiple girls that I'm wrestling with on a day-to-day basis. I have multiple jiu-jitsu world champions I'm grappling with on a day-to-day basis. I'm doing everything I would as if she was the best wrestler, as if she was the best striker, and she was the best jiu-jitsu girl. But I know the reality, and that's not it. She is a very good jiu-jitsu girl. The other reality is she's not great at stand-up, and she's not great at wrestling. So, you know, the 2 months that she has to train for this fight isn't going to fill the holes that she has between mine and her stand-up and our wrestling.
Now, on the flip side of that, though, I'd imagine that you can't have too much interest in fighting her on the ground, right?
No, absolutely not. Nope. I know how to beat her, and that's beat her up on the feet and take, push off the takedowns. Don't let her take me down. Don't let her clinch me. Don't let her touch me. From the years of boxing I've had, I'm very good with angles. I'm very good with cage control. I think that's one of my best attributes, and also my cardio is insane each round. Each round I get better and better. And I think that's the way to beat her is, beat her up on the feet. And then, like I said, I know she's not going to quit. She's not going to get hit once and be like, oh, that's done. I don't want to get hit by a hard striker anymore. But I know how to throw. I've been doing it my whole life. I know how to hit hard. I know how to angle. So I'm planning on her to keep coming at me and keep diving for shots. I might look a little desperate. I'm just going to keep hitting her and pushing her off me and making it suck for her. That's what I plan on doing.
Right. Well, I know you said earlier on that you're focused 100% on grappling at this point. But, all of that being said, when preparing for somebody with this kind of high-level ground game, are you focusing on getting out of the bad positions or focusing on takedown defense and avoiding the ground altogether?
Yeah, I focus 100% on grappling because I know that's where I lack. Not just for this fight, but, that's what I've been striking for so long. I know the striking game. I don't get tired. I can move. I can get hit. I keep coming. I focus on what areas I need to focus on, and then that's my focus. And I'm not allowed to do other things until I'm getting better at it. So, in the gym, I'm focusing on all the areas I need. But for this fight camp, it's definitely 100%. Avoid the clinch, avoid the takedowns, sprawl, get back up, hit her in the head as she's coming up. That's the game plan. That's what we're going with. But obviously, I still do the normal class. My morning sessions are all geared to exactly my fight. My afternoon sessions are strength conditioning, and then at night I still do the classes with my team. So I still have to, do all the classes that I normally would with my team. So I'm just grappling. There's not much game planning. Other than the fact that in my head I know I have the game plan. I'm still grappling the same. I'm still wrestling the same. I'm still striking the same.
Of course. When preparing for a fight, you've got to specify a lot of stuff, but you also have to keep those other skills sharp as well. So that totally makes sense to me. But
yeah, I've done fights before, or fight camps before, where I'm so focused on what I've seen in their previous fights that when I got to the fight, it was completely different. But whoa, this isn't what I've done.
Right.
So I make sure I don't only focus on this. Okay, this is because every fight's different. Every fight that I've ever had is different. It's never the same. So, why do one thing that I think is going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. So I got to do everything, but know in my head what is most likely going to happen.
Absolutely. Now, you've said that you plan to derail the hype train that is Mackenzie Dern. She's responded by saying that she didn't even know who you were and that the train will keep rolling, but she did say that she takes it all as a compliment. Now, you've said you've wanted this fight for a long time. You've explained that a bit. Obviously, you feel that this is the perfect matchup for you, but you also greatly appreciate the opportunity that this presents as far as marketing yourself and pushing yourself up to that next level, right?
Absolutely. I'm glad she doesn't know who I am. That's better for me. I've been watching her for a few years now, so I've watched her fights. I've already planned, I've visualized beating her. I've had to, she has to do that for 2 months. I've been doing it for a few years. So, and not obsessively oh man, I'm going to fight Mackenzie Dern. Oh God, I got to fight her. But that's a fight I wanted. I'm like, oh, that's a good fight for me. I think I can beat that girl,
right.
This is something that I've wanted, obviously not if I wanted it that badly, I would have shouted it out a little bit more. But, she's got a lot of publicity. She got a lot of fans. She got a lot of followers. And I think she's overrated, 100%. Her jiu-jitsu is not overrated. Go be the best jiu-jitsu girl in the world, but don't, come into the MMA world and expect to not get hit, to not get beat, because that's what I'm going to be doing.
Now, as we've seen with a lot of fighters that come into the UFC with a ton of hype, doesn't always go as planned for all kinds of reasons. But, considering that the UFC is really pushing her as the next big star, tell us about how important it is for you to steal all that momentum and begin your own rise to superstardom.
This is a perfect way. I'm fighting in her home, her home in Brazil. I can't let it go to the judges. I'm going for a stoppage. I'm really going to push this fight and take it to her and it's not just a winnable fight. It's a dominable fight. Like, I honestly feel like I can dominate her. And I think it can look really good. And I don't want to just be like the girl that beat Mackenzie Dern. I want to be the girl that smashed Mackenzie Dern. And a girl that smashed a 4-3 girl that smashed a 6-0 girl that was like one of the prospects. That is what I visualize in my head every day. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen on May 12th. And as soon as I beat her and I dominate her, I'm right up there to the top.
Now, in recent times, it seems like the UFC, they tend to get behind the attractive prospects and give them a big push. But, being an attractive woman yourself, do you expect to get that same kind of push with a big win in Rio?
I don't know if I even want it. I do promote myself. I mean, I take photos. I do what I have to do to market myself because it does sell. It does get fans. But I think a lot of the marketable, pretty girls get a lot of, I feel like people are always like, well, they only got that fight because they're pretty. They only did this because they're pretty. They're only in the UFC because they're pretty. And I'm like, actually, no, do you not see the talent they have? Like, they're incredibly talented. And I'm not talking about myself. Paige VanZant's a big example. People will think that only good things happen to her because she's marketable. She's great on camera. She works really well with people. She is a great fighter. Like, it's not because she's pretty. It's that helps, but people take down I think they overthink the looks and don't look at the skills, and I don't want anyone to ever think that about me. I want people to think that I'm very talented and I'm good looking. That's how I don't want it to be. I'm good looking and I have some talent.
Well,
I want to be known as the talent.
Right. Well, you make a great point there too. Not only is it skills inside of the cage, but it's the skills outside of the cage. Like you said, being good on camera, being good with the fans. All of that stuff is all considered and lends itself to your marketability as a whole. It's not always just a pretty face. You make a very great point there.
Exactly. It's not just it's not because she's perfect on social media. She promotes herself really well. She's a good idol to look up to. She's not selling sex and like being trashy or shit talking. She's a good role model. Why wouldn't you want to promote someone like that?
Absolutely.
And obviously you're going to promote the girls that are shit talkers and they like, it's an entertainment business. We all know that. Like, I know that my fight is going to be more entertaining if I push the pace, if I go after, if I attack her, like, rather than sit back and play the game like, well, if I hold her on the cage for a round, then maybe I won that round. I'm never going to be that fighter. I'm going to be the fighter that takes it to him, and I'm going to be the entertainer. For
sure. Now, you mentioned Rio there. You mentioned not allowing it to go to the judges and how important that's going to be. But speaking of it being in Brazil, I talked to Colby Covington earlier today. He'll be on that card, and there's a good chance the Brazilian fans are going to be really riled up just because he's on that card. So give us your thoughts on competing in hostile territory against a Brazilian.
I've been to Brazil before for fights, and the crowd is insane. I mean, they're screaming, "You're going to die" in Portuguese. It's loud as hell. It's nuts. I've been there. I've seen it. But also, I think the fans are really invested in MMA. They love jiu-jitsu. They love the ground. They love the stand-up. They love it all. So it's a little bit different than America, where in America you fight, goes to the ground, and they're like, stand it back up, boo. Like, the fans in Brazil are really good martial artist fans. They like enjoy good fighting.
Right, so much more appreciative, yeah.
And more appreciative. If you come, I'm probably going to be booed when I walk out. I'm okay with that. Like, that's something I've accepted. That's something I even visualize it when I'm visualizing my fight. That way, when it happens, I'm not shocked. I've seen it before. I visualize it in my head every day. I took a shower. I visualize my fight. I visualize the walkout. I visualize getting booed. That's okay with me. But the fans are fans to good fighters, so I believe I can win them over. I believe that I can get people on my side once they see that I'm a true martial artist. I'm talented. I can do it. I can make an entertaining fight. Obviously I'm expecting the worst, but preparing for the best.
For sure. And you're absolutely right. They're a lot like the Canadian fans in that they respect all facets of this game, and a lot more than the American fans, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Right. I'm my gym and my coaches and we're just trying to promote, like, we're all one. Like, it doesn't matter I'm fighting Brazil. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting a Brazilian. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting a girl from, it's not America versus Brazil. We are all won. It doesn't. That's not how I look at the fight. I don't look at me fighting a Brazilian and her. You know, that's the reality of it. I am fighting a Brazilian in her hometown, whatever. That's what it is. But we're the same person. The girl that's across from me did the exact same thing I did for this fight camp. We trained hard. We shook hands and we fought each other. It doesn't matter what the crowd thinks. It doesn't matter if the crowd believes she should win because she's from that country. You know, and obviously they're gonna want her to win. That's Brazilian. I want them to represent us, but we're fighters. You know, we've trained really hard. We're passionate about what we're doing. I respect everyone that wants to step in the cage with me. So that's the way I see it.
Definitely, definitely, and that just lends itself to the reason that this sport transcends borders and cultures and races and all of those things. So I would agree with you 100% there. But getting back to Mackenzie, what should be next for you after defeating Mackenzie? Should you get a top 15 opponent in your opinion?
In my opinion, yeah. If I beat Mackenzie Dern, I do believe that I should get a top 15 opponent. I've been training really hard. I've been working really hard. If I beat a girl like Mackenzie Dern, when I beat a girl like Mackenzie Dern, I believe 100% I deserve to fight someone in the top 15 and keep making my way up there.
Now, when you look at the elite of the division, how do you think your skill set stacks up against maybe the top 5, top 10?
It's always a stylistically matchup. It's that I could beat maybe the champion, but the number 4 girl beats me. You know, it's always changing as well. So it's something I don't like to think about too much because by the time I fight, Joanna could be the champion again. Rose could be the champion. They could be knocked off number 3. Like I don't really know. Felice Herrig is fighting this weekend. There's so many factors that it changes and stuff like that. But I believe, all the girls in the top 10 can beat all the girls in the top 10. I don't believe that just because you're 10, you can't beat number 1. There's just so many differences. But I match up great. I mean, I really believe that I'm starting to figure it out within this last year. I'm figuring out my mind, especially. I'm very confident. I'm very focused on training. I've done a lot physically, but I really believe that the thing that I'm doing the best right now is my mindset. And right now, with the mindset I have, the training that I have, the coach that I have, I believe that I can beat anyone.
So important, so important. Matt Brown and I were actually just discussing that. He was talking about how there's all these sports psychologists that come out of college and they have all of this, academia and information from textbooks and all these things, and they try to apply that to real life, and it doesn't always work out. But a guy that, like himself, he wants to write a book about the mental coaching, the sports psychology of this from the perspective of someone who's actually gone out there and had to apply these things to the real life situation. So you're absolutely right. Once you get the mental game in line, the rest all seems to fall into place, and you'll get where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I just started working with a mental coach too, so I'm really excited about that. But people always say, like, oh, fighting's 80% mental, 90% mental, whatever they, especially on fight night, it's 98% mental. And if it's so much mental, then why don't people train that? It's not always physical. It's like people train physical all the time. They, oh, I lost that fight. What do I need to do? Oh, I need to train harder. Oh, I need to just train more. Or maybe your mind is what lost it. Maybe it wasn't because you didn't go to wrestling that day. Maybe it's because your mind wasn't there. Maybe it was because you got nervous, So I make sure, like, I'm training as much physically as I ever have, but I'm also training mentally. And I think that's the best thing for me. I think it's been the best thing for me. My last fight with Angel Mangana, I've never felt so good, so clear, so perfect. And I think that I'm almost embarrassed that I haven't been training this before and keeping my mind perfect at all times.
Well, hey, it comes to everybody at different times, and it sounds to me like everything is falling into place for you now, and I certainly look forward to everything that you'll be able to accomplish with this new mindset. But you had mentioned there the champion Rose and Joanna. I was just wondering, who are you picking for this fight this weekend?
It's hard, I had Joanna winning the last one, I'm like, oh yeah, Joanna's got it, and then Rose really shocked me, and I couldn't figure out why she shocked me so much, because she's an incredibly talented fighter. I don't know why. I guess I got into that feel as like a normal, like everyday person would, is like, oh, they've hyped Joanna up so much, you gotta believe she's unstoppable,
Yeah.
Everyone's stoppable, everyone's beatable, and I have Rose winning this next one. I think she's really on it right now, and it'll be in Joanna's head that she had already lost, you know.
Yeah, I'm most looking forward to like the weigh-in stare downs. If that goes the same way again, you know, if that goes the same way again, yeah, you can definitely expect that Rose will be able to get it. But Joanna is so talented, very cool fight, super exciting. I know, I mean, I'm pumped for that one. So
yeah, I know she blamed it on the weight cut last time, but she's like really low on weight right now, so she can't blame it on that now, you know.
Right.
I'm excited to see what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, listen, you've been more than generous with your time. Just a couple more questions here for you. Assuming you come out of this fight uninjured, how many times would you like to compete this year?
After this fight, I want to fight at least 2 more times. Last year, I think I only had 2 fights, and it was killing me. So 3 fights would be a big year for me. Because I'll fight in May, you know, end of summer, later that year. 2 more fights this year would be great for me. For the last about year and a half, I've had a date in my head that I want to fight for the title. So I set a goal. I'm like, this date, this is the time I'm going to fight for the title. I just got to make sure I'm always perfect, always winning, and on top of it. And I think like if I can get a few more fights, that date will actually come to life.
Really? So you're thinking 2018 or 2019 you'll be able to fight for this?
29. I have I have the month and the year of 2019. That I've had in my head for the last 2 years that I'm gonna be fighting for a title. So if I keep winning and I keep fighting and staying active, I believe that date will actually come true.
What is that date, if you care to share?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I got it in my head. I've got it written down. So when it happens, you'll be the first to interview me for it, okay? Because you're the only one I told.
All right, fair enough. I greatly appreciate that. But no, you're right. Sometimes you gotta, you know, rather than put that stuff out there so it can maybe jinx you, I completely understand where you're coming from on that. But yeah, okay, so in conclusion, tell all the fans out there what they can expect on fight night. What's your prediction for the fight, and why is this one that they do not want to miss?
My prediction for the fight is a TKO finish by me in the 2nd round. That's, you know, what I'm visualizing in my head. That's what I'm working for. I'm going to get a finish. I believe it's going to be the 2nd round. And I mean, everyone. I just think it's a big fight for fans to watch. Everyone loves watching the females fight. Now you get to watch a classic grappler versus striker matchup, and we'll see who's the better fighter that night, which is going to be me.
All right, listen, Amanda, greatly appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. First time having you on the show. I hope we can catch up again when the fight draws near. Before we let you go, though, any shout-outs or sponsor plugs you'd like to get in?
No. I just want to thank you for having me on the show.
All right. Greatly appreciated. The Fighter's Voice, bjpenn.com. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, Amanda. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye. As you can hear there, guys, Amanda seems to think that she has Mackenzie's number, and based on the fact that she's been studying Mackenzie for a couple years now, this should turn out to be a very interesting matchup. Like we talked about in that conversation, I think that Amanda has the potential for superstardom as well. Can she derail the hype train? Well, we're going to have to tune in and find out. You heard it there. She has plans to become a champion in 2019. No reason that that's not possible at this point. Greatly appreciate her coming on the show. Greatly appreciated to all of our guests, Colby Covington, Matt Brown, and of course Amanda Cooper. It's been another great episode. Much love to all you guys, Penn Nation. And of course, all the love in the world to everybody on Team Penn. Much thanks to you guys for all the hard work that you put in on a day-to-day basis. It's been another great episode. I hope you folks tune in next week. We'll have more awesome interviews with some of the biggest names in the business. On behalf of the whole squad and everybody at bjpenn.com, I'm your host, Jay Kinch. Big mahalo to our guests. Big mahalo to you for tuning in. Make sure you catch us next week. bjpenn.com radio, the fighter's voice. Peace out, everybody.